Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your reaction to Manchester United's loss against Real Sociedad in the Europa League. And look, the first thing I want to say is absolutely shocking VAR decision. I don't want to talk about VAR because we had half an hour to equalise and we can digest what was a very disappointing evening from Manchester United, of course. But the fact still remains, as it did for West Ham last weekend and for Newcastle last weekend, that is a shocking VAR decision. And if they don't score that penalty, as much as people will moan about all sorts of things, and we'll get into it, and I think Ten Hag got things wrong, etc. But if they don't score that goal, they don't score a goal, and it's 0-0, and that's what we're talking about at the moment. So it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable at this level to have that sort of a decision. West Ham had it last week in the Premier League. Newcastle had it in the Premier League. That is not a penalty. I don't care what anybody says, and you know there will be rival fans saying, "Ha ha ha, you've lost in the Europa League," and we'll have to own it. We'll have to own it. But we didn't lose 3 or 4-0 because we were terrible. We lost the game we deserved to draw in a bad game, but we didn't deserve to lose it. It should have been a draw, and we would have still been moaning about the same things we're going to moan about in a minute, or talking about. But that doesn't make that decision and that result right. That's a smash and grab by Sociedad. They created next to nothing and they've won the game because of a shocking referee decision. So you can be moaning about us losing the game. I'm going to moan about why we drew the game, and there are reasons for that. But we didn't lose that game. The referee handed the result to Sociedad basically because Martinez blocks a shot and it bounces off his knee and hits his arm. The shot from David Silva is never hitting the arm of Martinez. The only reason it hits the arm is because it deflects off the knee. That should not be the rule. Clearly that is the rule, but that should not be the rule. You can't have a handball when the shot's heading nowhere near the hand and it deflects off that player's leg onto their arm. It's a deflection. It's not a penalty. So it's a bad decision. It's a shocking decision. And I wanted to get that out because it is a bad decision. Maguire plays, United lose again, to Slow Sports News. Interesting stats. We've played 7 games this season. In the 3 games that Maguire has started as captain, we've lost. In the 4 games he's not started, we've won. Is there a connection there, or is that coincidence? We'll talk about that in a bit. But Slow Sports News thinks there is. Shouldn't have taken Eriksen off, says Electro Dan. Apparently the games this weekend are cancelled because I'm not going to talk about that, Jiz. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's get into the game because ultimately Drew says that Ronaldo is the problem. Okay, yeah, whatever. If you're gonna put something in the chat, can you please construct something more cleverer than that, because that's just ridiculous. Penalty was ridiculous, but the game changed massively after Eriksen went off, says Lee. And that's the sort of intelligence I want in this community, because that is a very, very intelligent point. A couple of the selections cost us the game today. We should have got a draw. We should have got a draw. And what I will say straight away is what I've been saying for a long time, even when we were winning the last 4 games. There will be dips. There will be losses. There will be more Brightons. There will be more Sociedads. We are going to lose games because that team is not ready yet. I think we'll win games and we will lose games because this is still a work in progress. Statistically, that was a very equal game. We didn't dominate possession. Welcome to the Members Club, Rick. We didn't dominate possession. We didn't dominate the chances created. They played around the same passes as us. For me, that was a 0-0 draw. But that's at Old Trafford. That's at Old Trafford. At Sociedad, will they dominate us more because they get more of the ball? So it wasn't a very good game from Manchester United. Casemiro can't protect us from VAR. I thought Casemiro had a good game. I think the defence was bad. Blairs looked tired, says Gullum. Look, for me, there was 2 things I would say. First of all, the selection of Fred in the first half was a disaster. As a centre-attacking midfielder, I actually felt sorry for Fred. And remember, you can do your player ratings, links in the video description, mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average, star for your man of the match. We'll go through that in a few minutes' time. But let's talk about why we didn't win that game. I felt that we had enough of the ball in the first half to go in at least 1-0 up. The reason we didn't go 1-0 up is because Fred, as the centre-attacking midfielder, broke the play down countless times with bad passes, bad selections. He was shooting. If we'd had Bruno at the start, playing with Eriksen, I think we would have been 2-0 up at half-time. There was plenty of opportunity for Fred to create things in that role, and he never did. I thought Eriksen played well in the first half. I thought Delode did his job getting forward, and I thought Casemiro the whole game shielded the back 4 really well. They never really got at our defence in the whole game. The problem in the first half was Fred was a complete and utter failure as a centre attacking midfielder, and I felt sorry for Fred. because I would never play him as a centre attacking midfielder. Now, you've got to... Do you blame Ten Hag for that? Well, of course you do, because he picked the team. But what other option did he have? He was clearly only going to give a half to Bruno, and he was clearly only going to give a half to Eriksen. So he had a choice. You either start with Bruno, Eriksen and Casemiro, and then take them both off and bring McTominay and Fred on in the second half, which leaves us very weak in the midfield. Or you have to do what he did. The problem was Donny van de Beek wasn't fit, so he couldn't play Donny van de Beek as a cam. Personally, I would have started with Sancho as a centre attacking midfielder instead of Fred, because it just didn't work. So first half, I thought we played reasonably well, defensively, midfield, but Fred it broke down with. Second half, we missed Eriksen massively. We couldn't transition from midfield to attack anywhere near like we could with Eriksen on the pitch. And I think what this game showed is the complete and utter reliance we have on Eriksen at the moment. So many people have been talking about how important Eriksen is. I really think we saw it today. Bruno disappeared in the second half. We couldn't get him on the ball. Casemiro kept doing his job, but Fred just can't link the play like Eriksen. So across the 90 minutes, I don't think Fred was terrible. I just think he was the problem. In the first half, the ball went into him in the centre attacking midfield position and we couldn't create anything. And then in the second half, when we brought Bruno on, we lost the ability to play the ball to Bruno because we took Eriksen off of Fred and Fred can't do it. So I think we saw the limitations of Fred. He can't create. And he can't create in either of those positions. And it cost us in both halves. The number 10 position and then the inability to get the ball to number 10. We can moan about VAR, but we're also not good in front. And Erik Ten Hag caused this game, says Mahat. I'm sorry, Elanga should never start unless there is an injury crisis, says Back. No way we should have lost that game. The penalty was rubbish and we created nothing. Poor, says Billy. And I heard the assistant saying to Erik Ten Hag, this is not where United should be, and saying the Europa is for amateur referees, says Yeah, I don't know whether that happened or not. In relation to Elanga, look, I like Elanga and I think he showed moments, but I don't think he's ready for this level. And I've said it for the start. I like Elanga. I'm not one of those people who think he's crap. I just think he wouldn't be good enough to start for Southampton. Why is he playing games for United? He should be in the Championship, growing, and like Hannibal Mabry is. I don't think Elanga's any better than Mabry or Garnacho, but he's starting games. He needs to be developed, and he's not had that opportunity. So I feel for Elanga, but I think we have to use him because we don't have anybody else. We could have played Eriksen as a cam and Fred deeper. We couldn't, Jamie, because that's the whole point. Bruno was the cam in the second half and he didn't get the ball because Fred can't play the ball from deep. Eriksen has to play deeper to feed Bruno. That's the problem. If you want to rotate, you can't do it. I blame Maguire. The team spirit is dead whenever he plays, says Shahin. Look, on Harry Maguire, we will have bad days. We have to be patient, says Gullum. I completely agree with that. This is a work in progress. I said this after the 4 games against Arsenal, Southampton, Leicester and Liverpool that we won. They were not convincing wins. They were good wins built on a strong defence. What did we discuss after Liverpool? What did we discuss after Southampton and Leicester and Arsenal? We said they were really good results built on very good defence. Today, the defence wasn't the same defence. They were unlucky to concede from a penalty, but it wasn't the same defence. And we're not dominating the possession and we're not creating loads and loads of chances. That's what Ten Hag wants to get to, but we're not doing it at the moment. So we're still a work in progress. Like Gullum says, like everybody says, we're not dominating games. I don't know what people expected today. We played the same against Sociedad as we did against Leicester. Very similar game, but instead of us getting the goal through Bruno, they got the goal through a penalty. There's no difference the way... I don't think if Ronaldo was out the team and Rashford was in the team and Casemiro was out the team and McTominay was in the team and Maguire was out the team and Varane was in the team, I don't think we necessarily would have been better, because we haven't been much better when we played Leicester and Southampton. They were just tight games that we got the goal in. So HKN says Ronaldo was the worst player on the pitch, but you can only talk about Fred, says HKN. Yeah, because you know what, HKN, I can talk about a game tactically. I can talk about why we didn't score goals. I don't remember Ronaldo having a hatful of chances. Maybe he should have scored the header, but I don't think Ronaldo played well. And I'm going to do player ratings and I'll talk about that. But I think the fundamental issue with the game today was that we didn't get to play Eriksen and Bruno together, and the drop off is huge when you don't do that. And we saw Fred play the Bruno role in the first half and he can't do it. And then we saw Eriksen go off, Bruno come on, and Bruno's not getting the ball because he hasn't got Eriksen to feed him the ball because Fred can't do that. I feel bad for Fred, but ultimately he can't do the role that Eriksen and Bruno can do. And if we want to rotate, this is what happens. The fluidity of that midfield was ultimately the big problem for me. Now, some people will want to blame it on Maguire. Some people want to blame it on Ronaldo. Look, Ronaldo could have done better. I'll reflect that in his player ratings. With Harry Maguire, I don't think for me, I'm going to give Harry Maguire a 6, which is average. I don't think he deserves anything less, but he certainly doesn't deserve anything more. I did watch him quite a lot. Like I wanted to watch Casemiro, Maguire, Ronaldo, Fred, because they're players coming into the team who've not been given game time recently. My analysis of Maguire, and I'll give it you now if you want it. Runa says there's still a lot of crap in this squad. I will judge the project later on. Maguire was decent, to be fair to him. Game lost because no one could play a ball into the box. Ronaldo had to come deep too much, says Caleb. Sorry, Mark, I completely missed the first half. Was driving back from the airport. Any chance of a summary of the first half? I've done it, Matty. I love Ronaldo, but he wasn't great today, says Noah. Hey, Mark, can you say happy birthday to Nazim? You're a prat, says Ryan. Everyone who says Ronaldo was the worst, low IQ I takes. He put the ball in the net, says Marcy. And Ronaldo and Bruno will never work together in an Eric Ten Hag system. Neither of them are good enough with the ball. Both hit and miss in regards to quality, says LJ. See, but LJ, I think you're missing the point here. I think people are trying to pin this on one player and you're not actually listening to what we're talking about. I'm not pinning that result on Fred. I'm just saying that Fred in the Bruno role doesn't work. And then when he does the Eriksen role, we can't get the ball to Bruno because Eriksen's the only player who can do it. I think if McTominay had played in the Fred roles today, he'd have struggled. It's probably why I wanted De Jong. Eriksen's the only player who can feed the number 10, and that number 10 then needs to be Bruno. Now, maybe Donny can do it, but he's not fit. So this is the problem with this squad. We're light up front, and we're light in the midfield, and we knew that. Creativity in the midfield is Eriksen and Eriksen alone from deep. And if he doesn't play, we go back to last season where we can't feed the attack. I'm not blaming Fred. I don't think Fred was terrible. I just don't think you need Eriksen and Bruno basically at the moment. David says, I don't think Ronaldo suits that team. Lots of chances turned to him, but he's consistently offside. I don't think there was lots of chances, David. I don't know what game you were talking about. You had 2 bad games of the season, and now everyone's popping out champagne. You won a few games. I think this is a big reality check, says Eagles. I completely disagree. It's not. I think people are over-egging the pudding here. We should have drawn the game. We 100% should have drawn the game because it was not a penalty. And we will have dips. We're going to be on a roller coaster. It's part of a fucking rebuild. I think we've got to be really careful. Otherwise, we're going to end up like them Arsenal fans. Arteta! We've lost the game to Real Sociedad. We shouldn't have lost. It wasn't a penalty. It should have been a draw, and we'd still be talking about why we drew it. But we don't need to overreact. It's not the end of the bloody world. We're weak in the attack. We don't have enough options. And we're weak in the midfield. We don't have enough options. When Eriksen doesn't play at the moment, we look pretty bloody average, to be honest, and we did in the second half. And up front, we don't have enough options. Martial's injured. Rashford wasn't on the bench. Alanga's not ready. And I tell you what, Sancho when he came on, Anthony when he was on, we don't get the ball out wide enough. And again, that's probably because Fred can't do it and Eriksen wasn't on in the second half. So Sancho and Anthony aren't getting enough of the ball. Alanga's not ready for that role. So you can see why we struggled. There was too many holes in that team, really, in my opinion. I think if UEFA needs to start fining the referees for poor officiating, says Raz. I don't hate the guy, but I think Maguire's the antithesis of Ten Hag ball. This happens every time we play him. Same thing happened pre-season. It's slow, says Manchild. Look, that was the point I was going to make. 2 points I want to make before we do the player ratings. Firstly, I don't think Harry Maguire played badly today, but I will absolutely say this. The 3 games he's played this season, we've lost. The 4 games he's not played, we've won. Whether it's his fault or not, and he wasn't bad today, and he actually wasn't bad against Brentford. I know we lost 4-0, but he wasn't terrible, and he wasn't terrible tonight. He was okay. But there's something about Maguire in that team that just makes us different. And, is he drifting deep because he's scared of the pace? Maybe. I didn't really notice it, to be honest, but maybe. Is the communication worse with Maguire in the team? I was thinking about this. He's got Casemiro in front of him. He's got Dalot to the right of him. He's got Martinez to the left of him. He's got De Gea behind him. These are all. I know he knows De Gea, but they've all won things. Martinez has won league titles. Casemiro's won league titles. All right, Dalot hasn't, but De Gea has. I don't know what point I'm trying to make, but I don't think Maguire fits anymore. And yet he's got the captain's armband. And we don't play. I suppose what I'm trying to say is he just doesn't fit the team. He's the captain of the team that really he can't lead because he can't play that way. And we don't play the way he wants to play. And he doesn't recognise this back four anymore. He hasn't got Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw and Lindelof with him, with McTominay and Fred in front of him. It's a completely different team. And I just don't think he suits the team. And he looks a bit of a stranger in it. I don't think he played badly, but I don't think he looks a stranger, and the team plays different. And yeah, I suppose that's it really. But the second thing I wanted to say about the penalty, it wasn't a penalty, but at the end, when Martinez accidentally stands on the lad's leg and takes his boot off in the box, that's probably a penalty. And he didn't even give it. So the inconsistency is ridiculous. Again, do you think the midfield and the attack feel more pressure to keep the ball when it's Maguire and Lindelof as opposed to Varane and Martinez? Look, when we're going to do player ratings in a minute, and we're going to do man of the match in a minute. And for me, Martinez may well be man of the match, and he only played 45 minutes. Eriksen could be man of the match, and he only played 45 minutes. Martinez and Varane are just different gravy, aren't they? Really. Have you seen what Trevor Sinclair tweeted, mate? I don't want to really bullseye. I mean, yeah, I have. I mentioned it at half time, and even Simon Jordan's replied and said it's a joke. I mean, it's not great. We all need to remain calm. It's going to take a while. Our first team is good. Our second team is not. It's going to take multiple windows, says JB. Can I just applaud that? I think 4 wins in a row in the Premier League, and people think we might be in a title race. I don't. I'm not even sure we're in a top 4 race. We are a massive work in progress. I fully expect more losses. I hope we're going to get more wins, and I think it's going to be a roller coaster. But the problems last season were huge, and maybe Ronaldo doesn't suit this team. Maybe Martial should play, but he won't be fit. I certainly don't think Rashford's a centre forward, so there's problems there. Anthony, we couldn't get the bloody ball to him today. Sancho, we couldn't get the ball to him. The midfield is completely different when Eriksen's not on the pitch, and that's one player. So we're thin. And you could say it about centre-back. Varane and Martinez work very well, but if one of them gets injured and you've got to play Maguire or Lindelof next to them, it looks completely different. We're in this together. We are in this together. We're all on the same team, and I think people think because we've won the last 4 games, everything's sorted. It's going to be a long process, and there will be dips. It will be a roller coaster. But I'll go back to what I said. We shouldn't have lost that game. It should have been a disappointing draw. It shouldn't have been a loss. But yeah, we are a work in progress. We have to stick together, says Matty. Pinning this on one player and overreacting will not help. Mark is spot on 100%. Look, 100% Matty, I don't want to be like that anymore. I don't think any United fan wants to be like that anymore. You can see it in the chat. We're sort of drifting back into what we used to be last year, where people are just, they're running their agendas. It'd be easy for me to do that if I wanted to, but I'm not. Some people are blaming it on Ronaldo. I think that's ridiculous. I in no way am saying Fred's shit. I just think that Fred as a cam didn't work, and then when he went to Eriksen's role, he can't do what Eriksen does, and it cost us in both positions. I don't think he played badly in relation to his overall game was okay, but it's problematic when he's playing as a number 10 and then you take Eriksen off. And as I said, I don't think Maguire was bad, but he doesn't fit the team. And I don't think Lindelof fits the team either, to be honest with you. I mean, let's not forget Lindelof. Brother, I'm the only one who was Lindelof really on toast, says the AZ. Well, again, Lindelof sort of got away with it as well. I don't think Lindelof played particularly well. Maguire plays the ball sideways too often, says Ricky. I think we missed Delo down the right in the second half, says Carl. I mean, I was surprised Wan-Bissaka didn't come on at right back. Lindelof at right back didn't work, and Fred at cam didn't work. It's not Maguire's fault the defence wasn't busy. He made no noticeable mistakes. The attack and midfield let our defence and Casemiro down, says Antonio 15. No, I disagree with you, Antonio. I don't think that the defence looked anywhere near like it has done. And I think it was a bit late. It was a bit lackadaisical, our approach from the back. It wasn't fast. It wasn't a high line. It was a bit, look, let's do the player ratings. I think that's the main thing to do. So mark every player out of 10, 6 being the average. Links in the video description to do it. Let me just refresh this here, and then we'll go. We go up. So we'll start off with David De Gea. Make sure you subscribe, by the way, bottom right hand corner, and smash a like on the video. Apparently the press conference has been cancelled with Erik ten Hag out of respect. Obviously there is a backdrop to this, of course. Just getting some latest news because I know we've got somebody out the ground as well who's giving us some info, so that's always good, of course. Player ratings. Let's go into this. So David De Gea for me is a 6 today, 5.9. I mean, realistically, I always want to strive to find a positive. The penalty went the right way. It's one of those. I mean, and Arit says De Gea a 4. I mean, it's this sort of idiocy that does football fans no credit, does it? I mean, I would advise you to fuck off basically and not watch this channel because or any football, because you're just negative, you're just toxic. These sort of fans, I mean, I don't think you are even a fan. How can you give David De Gea a 4? I mean, what is wrong with people in our fan base these days? You lose a game and they're taking you back to the third year of Ollie. It's a brand new manager trying to build a brand new team. We've lost the game because of a VAR decision, and there's still knobheads in our fan base who want to pin it on their little fucking agendas. It's a joke. We've lost the game because of VAR, and you want to give people 2s and 3s. Do you watch football or do you just shit out your arse? What are you talking about? You're just negative and toxic. We're trying to build something. You sit there in the summer going, it's going to be a 3-year thing. We're going to have ups and downs. And the minute you have a down, you're like, oh, it's his fault. Fucking Ten Hag, De Gea. It's the same old shit. If you can't get on the bus for a rebuild, fuck off. Simple as that. Simple as that. And somebody can say it's his opinion, right? How can you give David De Gea a 4? His distribution from the back was good. The penalty, goalkeepers concede penalties. That's the only goal he's conceded. So how can you give him a below average? Can I just remind you, 6 is average, 5 is below average, and 4 is poor. How can you give him a fucking 4? Based on what? Other than the fact that you love Dean Henderson? I can't get on board with idiots who don't look at things properly. The low for me would probably be a 6.5. Shame he went off at half time, but it's all about rotation. Victor Lindelof, look, logically was below average. I think at half time I probably would have given him a 6, but he was on toast. It was Lindelof on toast in the second half. I felt sorry for him because he's not a right back, but it dropped his score from a 6 to a 5 for me because at right back he was getting skinned a lot. You know what? Harry Maguire for me was a 6. And again, I will jump in on here and people will be very, very shocked. But on what, other than agenda, how is Harry Maguire? Well, yeah, as I say, 6 is average, 5 is below average, and 4 is poor. On what planet is he poor? Like, it would have been 0-0. Sociedad created nothing. How can he be poor when he didn't have anything to do? Like, his passing was okay. He won a few headers. I mean, he wasn't good because he didn't have the opportunity to be good, but he wasn't 4 point. He wasn't a 4. And I think that's just, look, I know you don't want to pick Harry Maguire. I don't want to pick Harry Maguire, but I'm not going to just give him crap scores because I don't want him to be picked. I agree that the team with Maguire in it just doesn't look right anymore. And I just think ultimately he just doesn't suit the way United are going to play. But he's a backup centre-back. He came in. He did okay. I've got no problem with him playing in games like this. If he starts at the weekend or our next first team game, there's a problem because it should be Varane and Martinez, but it's never going to happen. So I thought it was an average 6 for me. At best, maybe a 5.5. At worst, a 5.5. But 4.2, there's just dislike and agenda coming through there, I think. Malacia was probably a 6 tonight. 5.9, I agree with that. So we've been close on a couple. Good. Casemiro was a 7 for me, and this is really surprising. I knew he was going to get a low score, and look, I'm not going to moan about this because I expected this to happen, but I don't understand. Look, maybe I understand football better than some people. Maybe I don't. But centre defensive midfield is one of my favourite positions. I played it from probably about 27 until I stopped playing. I love this position. You stay in front of the back four, you protect the back four, and you get the ball and you pass it. You're not meant to score goals in the top corner. You're not meant to run past 3 or 4 players. We drew that game 0-0 and Sociedad did nothing. Somebody has to be responsible for Sociedad not getting anywhere near our box. And it was Casemiro. He was running the midfield. I accept that his passing was a bit sloppy at times, but his job is to protect the back 4. And he did it. And it's his first 90 minutes. I thought he played better than average. I thought he was a 7. So people have gone below average. And I don't know what you're marking it on. What do you expect a centre defensive midfielder to do then? Do you think they're meant to, play worldy 50-yard passes? I think his job is to protect the back 4 and shield it. And I thought he did it. And I think he's one of the considerations for man of the match. So, I don't get that. But I respect it. 5.5 is what you've given. I've given him a 7. I'm not moaning about that one. I think anybody getting below a 5 is ridiculous. But I will respect that because I was expecting it. But not for me. I thought he actually had a good game. Next one, Fred. 5.5 for me from Fred. Again, look. In the first half, he was really bad. In the second half, he went into his position. I thought he was okay. He was the problem, but I don't think he was crap. He's not. I feel defensive of Fred here, and I have criticised Fred in the past. But he's played as a number 10. It's like asking Lionel Messi to play centre back. It doesn't mean Lionel Messi's a crap footballer, but he'd be rubbish at centre back. And Fred, as a centre attacking midfielder, asking him to create and be the feeder to the wings and Ronaldo, it was a disaster. Then he went back to his normal position and he was okay, but he just can't feed Bruno like Eriksen can. So it's not his fault he's not Bruno, and it's not his fault he's not Eriksen, basically. I thought he was probably a 5.5. Eriksen, for me, was very good in his... I'd give him a 7. I thought he played well in the first half, but obviously only played for 45 minutes, and that was always the plan. When Eriksen's in the team, you can just see how important he is to this Ten Hag side. And so many times he'd get the ball into Fred and it would break down because Fred didn't know what to do with it. But I thought Eriksen was good. And ultimately, I think we missed him massively in the second half. So he would be a consideration for man of the match as well. Anthony, I'd probably give him a generous 6, but I think you're right with the 5.5, if I'm honest. We just didn't get the ball to him enough. And when you don't get a lot of the ball, you saw a player that wants to impress. So I think sometimes when he did get the ball, he was trying to do too much. But yeah, it was an average performance. I'm probably being a bit generous. I think you might be right with the 5.5, slightly below average from Anthony, to be fair. Alanga, I'd probably give him a 5.5 as well. So we're not too far apart on that. I'm glad that he hasn't got a stupid score. There was moments from Alanga. There's potential there. I just think, as I've said before, I like Alanga, but he's been over-promoted. He was over-promoted by Ranić because he didn't have enough attackers. And I think he's been over-promoted by Ten Hag because he didn't have attackers. He should be playing for Birmingham City in the Championship, developing his whatever talent he's got. And then we see what he's like in a year. Unfortunately, we don't have enough options, so we're using him in first-team games where he quite clearly and visibly is not ready. Alanga would not start for many Premier League clubs. I can't think of a club he would start for, and yet United are having to start him. I really like him. I think he could be a good player, but I just think he's being overused and over-promoted at the moment. Jones says Casemiro wasn't good. I disagree, and we've spoken about him already. And as I say, I'm not going to get into those sort of arguments because ultimately I don't think it helps a team that's trying to build. I think building agendas against players now is not conducive and constructive for what we're trying to do as a football club. And look, I could easily have given Maguire a 3 like some of you have, but I just don't think he was a 3. I think he was average, but I don't think he was a 3. I don't think Fred was a 4 either. But, Ronaldo for me, it's a difficult one, Ronaldo, because I don't think you can give him a 6. I think you've got to give him a 5.5, 4.8. It wasn't a good performance from Ronaldo. It wasn't. I can be sympathetic because I think you can give him... I just think he would... I could spend all night talking about Ronaldo. So really, I think he was desperate to score, and that can sometimes be counterproductive. I think he became frustrated in the first half with Fred, so he started dropping into Fred's position to be part of the link-up play because he wasn't getting the ball in the box. But then being part of the link-up play, the people would get the ball to put it in the box, and because he was part of the link-up play, there's no one in the box. So that was counterproductive. In the second half, he just got more and more frustrated because we weren't using the ball properly. So, you know, I think it was a frustrating night for Ronaldo, but there was probably one or two chances he could have done better with. I think somebody said it in the watch along. There was one in the second half where he probably would have took it first time and he took a touch. He's just not match sharp at the moment, and it's a shame to see it. But you could say the same about Casemiro. You could say the same about Maguire. You could say the same about Lindelof. They look like players that are just not up to speed, and you've got to acknowledge that it wasn't great. I think Donny was penciled in for this game. We needed Donny in this game, Daniel. We needed Donny in this game, and it's such a shame he was injured, because I think if Donny had played in the first half, where Fred was, and then in the second half he took Eriksen off and moved Donny into Eriksen's role and brought Bruno on, we probably would have played better. I know people have written Donny van de Beek off, but personally I think if he can get fit, he's massively important, because we played Fred in the number 10 to rest Bruno, and that should have been Donny, and then we put Fred into the Eriksen role to rest Eriksen, and that could have been Donny. So I still think Donny's got a chance in this team. It's just unfortunate he's injured. Look, my man of the match is Martinez. I'm going to give him a 7.5, and I'm going to give him man of the match. I don't know whether people agree with that, but I actually thought that Eriksen played well, Casemiro played well, and Martinez played well. But Martinez changed that back four when he came on. Lindelof and Maguire, we've seen it for 2 or 3 years. It is what it is. It is what it is. Martinez came on and he steps out from the back. He's confident on the ball. He's aggressive. He's a leader. I could see him pointing at Maguire and telling him what to do. And Maguire's the captain. So he's just very impressive. And also, it was never a bloody penalty as well. And just before that, he stopped a goal, by the way. Cross came in. I think it was Kubo on the left. Skinned Lindelof again. Put a lovely cross in. It's landing for Sorloth for a tap in on the back post, and Martinez stretches out and clears it with his foot. And then from the resulting cross, the injustice of that penalty is ridiculous. But I thought he was. I thought Martinez played very well in a general team performance that was very difficult to do it. But I would probably give Eriksen my second man of the match if you were going to go for that. And I thought Casemiro played well as well, despite what some people think. But yeah, I probably would have gone. Well, I have gone Martinez man of the match, second Eriksen, and then Casemiro third for me. In a game where it was slim pickings, yes. But and the interesting thing is that Eriksen played 45 minutes and Martinez played 45 minutes, and a lot of people played 90 minutes. So it just shows you 2 first-team players doing bits again. Bruno, probably a 5.5, to be honest. Sancho, probably a 5.5 as well. We just couldn't get him into the game. Garnacho, I'd give him a 6 because he's a youth player. And I'd give Charlie McNeil a 6 as well because they're youth players as well, and you don't want to knock them, and you know it's bonus minutes for them. You don't expect much from them, and I think they did reasonably well. And then Erik ten Hag. I mean, you know, this is the one bit I was looking forward to tonight. Erik ten Hag. What would you give Erik ten Hag as a score? Get in the chats. Make sure you smash a like on the video, by the way. What would you give Erik ten Hag? We should have drawn the game. First of all, I must say that we should have drawn the game. So I don't treat this as a loss, even though it is. We lost because of a dodgy penalty. It would have been a draw. So I don't feel like I need to mark him down because we were outplayed or anything like that. Gareth says Casemiro is going to be class. He just needs the minutes. And we're no good without pace up front, says Phil. But we've got to be good without pace up front, Phil. We can't just be a team that hits long ball to pace. We've got to become a football team. Don't you think Eriksen Delo should have played, given we don't have a match this weekend, says Argent? Yeah, but we didn't know we haven't got a match this weekend. And hard to judge the front three when we couldn't play through the midfield, says Carl. I agree. I think that Anthony and Sancho were very unfortunate. So I can't knock Ten Hag for the result. However, in the last half an hour when we're 1-0 down, I expected more and we didn't create anything. So that's a bit of a negative. The selection of Fred at number 10 was bad. But what other option did he have? For me, you could have started Garnacho there. You could have started Sancho there. So there were other options. I think Fred as a number 10 was a bad decision. And I thought Lindelof at right back was a bad decision. So because of that, I would give him a 5.5, and you've given him a 5. So I think that the selection of Fred as a 10 and the Lindelof right back thing were the two things I would mark him down for. On what was in general a very 6 performance from Man United. It was very average tonight, and I think because we lost, some people want to over-egg the pudding and turn it into shocking and shit and all this, but it was just very average. It was very, very average from most of that team and from Eric to a certain extent. Performance like tonight was coming. We won games because of a good defence. I didn't see the back four communicating tonight like we see in the Premier League. Maguire doesn't communicate or lead. Varane could have sorted out Sulloff, says Christian. But we still might have conceded a dodgy penalty. And I know what you mean. I think the defence is a lot better with Varane low in it. But the penalty, they didn't create anything, really, apart from the penalty. So, you know. Let's see who the man of the match is. And it is Lisandro Martinez. He gets 45% of the vote. In second place, it is Eriksen with 29%. And then Casemiro was in third. So fair play. I got that right. Smash a like on the video for Martinez. I think he did a good job, didn't he? But let me just have a quick look around the houses of whether we've got any updates for you. Look, that's the football side of things. Obviously, if you're not aware, you must be living under a rock. The Queen, who is the Queen of England and the Commonwealth, has passed away, sadly, tonight. This is going to have an impact on the next couple of weeks in the UK. There is talk of games being postponed, which would mean no Premier League games this weekend and maybe beyond that. We haven't had any announcement about that tonight. I suspect we will probably get that tomorrow at some point. But there's a very real chance that might happen. I don't think that will affect UEFA League games because we're playing in Moldova next week. So I think we would play that. Obviously, it's going to have a massive impact on the... if games get postponed, having to be rescheduled in a World Cup year. I don't want to predict anything that we don't know what's going to happen with ultimately, but we've never had a monarch die in most people's lifetime in the UK, and it's very, very sad and it's unprecedented, and it's still only a few hours old, so we don't know what's going to happen. But there is a lot of rumours that there will be postponements of games at the weekend, and maybe the weekend after that. My personal feeling is that they shouldn't be postponed, not through any lack of respect for the passing of the Queen, but because the world is very different. And, you know, if you cancel games at the weekends and the weekend after, are people going to stop going online playing FIFA and stuff like that? You know, the world's a very technological, impatient world now, and shutting things down for for a couple of weeks. We're seeing this with COVID. It's like, the world's changed, and I think there are ways that mourning and respect can be observed whilst continuing with things that people want to do. So we'll have to wait and see. I suppose that'll be for the morning show, but people will be going to work, won't they? So I don't know what's going to happen. It's unprecedented times, and a lot of people are asking about that. But Man United have played tonight. We'll see what tomorrow brings. But what I would say is, let's not over-exaggerate. It was disappointing to lose, but it should have been a draw. And I think ultimately the soundbite is this. Did those players that came into the team and were given a chance, did they grab that chance? And I don't think they did. I don't think they were terrible, but I don't think they were good either. And yet we made some mistakes. But this season's going to be a roller coaster. You can't cheer and go over the top when it's high, and then moan and scream it's shit when it's a low. The season's going to be like that. And when you've got a roller coaster, you need to keep yourself in the middle. It's like the red, what do I talk to you about? The traffic light system, the traffic life system. Red is negative, green is positive. You are going to be going red, green, red, green, red, green all season if you don't realise this season's going to be a roller coaster. I and many others are amber. I'm just going to be constant. There's no need to overreact when we lose, and there's no need to overreact when we win. Just a constant line, and as long as it's moving up and getting closer to green, That's what I want from this season. But I'm not expecting titles. I'm not expecting trophies. I'm expecting improvement from last year. And, you know, a part of that improvement, we still need to remove players from this team. And I've got ideas already of who needs to go in the summer. But we need them this season. So there's no point in being overly negative. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. It's been a really weird stream. Thank you from me personally. Thank you very much for watching, because it's been very, very weird, and I didn't know how this evening was going to go. So really appreciate your company. A fantastic community that we've got. I know we disagree and we have opinions and everything, but on a human level, I think we've got a great community, and you've been very, very good today. And we'll speak tomorrow and see what's going to happen. So take care, everyone. I know it's a weird time. Some people will be upset. Some people will be frustrated. That's just the way the world is. But it's definitely a weird time. Take care, and I'll speak to you all soon. Thank you very much for watching.